Observaciones de mi vida, victoria. Mi vida ya está escrita. Victoria. Pero sigo el mismo, nunca cambio, aunque tenga muchos títulos. Ahora muchos me dicen Sabor Latino. Te felicito, mi hermano, eres famoso. Gracias por todo el apoyo, es la respuesta. El mensaje: nunca te rindas en la vida. Y nunca me olvido de esa celda que hasta hoy tengo. Muchas pesadillas, 360, la vida da vuelta. Ahora inspiro familias en una escuela. 7 publicaciones, sueños cumplidos. Que represento, hip-hop positivo. Los dolores ahora son canciones. Más bendiciones, más observaciones y más versos. Ahora más escupo bendiciones. Ahora me despido. Victoria, porque me monta tanta.
So, good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, 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 welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Today, you'll be getting your first episode of a learning moment with Sabor Latino. Oh man, I'm just so excited right now at this moment. I hope, by the way, before I start, I just hope you guys enjoyed that introduction. I hope you guys also enjoyed the introduction episode where I'm just talking about this whole podcast world that I'm getting myself into. And I hope you guys really enjoyed it. But seriously, thank you for tuning in. And I'm very excited to get started on the first episode. And like I told you guys in the preview, we're going to be starting with the value of education. And I really got into this to bring some motivation to the world, like you guys know. And I really had to think about what are the 10 things that I really want to open this up with. And education was the number one on the list, the value of education. And why do I think it's so important? So important. As you guys know, this show is really going to specialize in speaking to the youth, but we're definitely going to be speaking about different issues in my life. And eventually we'll have some guests coming up here and telling their learning moment and how we can share. But getting back to the value of education, it is so important. I'll start by saying that I totally agree with a lot of people that say that, well, Sabor Latino, school is not for everyone. I truly understand. School is not for everyone, right? But it's something to think about, right? Let's look at it this way. Even if it takes you to get your high school diploma, you can at least apply to certain city jobs in the city and try to get a job that way. I would highly recommend to get at least an associate's degree, because with an associate's degree, you can get 60 college credits. You can even go liberal arts. And with liberal arts, you can get a little bit of everything, right? And how can that help you? I believe now, even with the police department, you only need about, 25 to 30 credits. So even going to school for 2.5 semesters or a year, you could be able to qualify to get into the NYPD, right? But that's just the fundamental of it, right? There's nothing wrong with even a high school diploma where you can learn the basics of reading and writing and English and math, right? And so many other things. So even with a high school diploma, finishing that part of the education is really important. And also, how does that GED, equivalency diploma, or the associate's degree can open the doors for you for the future, right? Say, for instance, at the moment, you're not interested in going to college, but you know down the road, you have that opportunity for that door to open whenever you want to. Right? So that's something really to consider in at least in that aspect. Another thing I want to touch on is the importance of a career job, right? A lot of people feel like going to college is a risk, and it can be in certain ways. I would say probably financial risk and so many other things, investment, your time. But I really sincerely think that getting your education or completing your education will open up so many doors, right? Nowadays, even with people that have a lot of experience, whether it's their supervisor or their director or executive director, now they want a lot of people with their bachelor's degree, right? So, again, very important, the value of education. And I know sometimes we get into situations where we start a family early and those things happen, right? But how do we try to figure out a way to really understand the importance and value of education? And sometimes responsibilities come in first, right? Where we have to get a job and we have to pay our bills and we have to try to take care of our families, right? And that's all understandable. But my only thing is just being mindful, at least having in the back of your mind, that maybe you want to go back to school or college or finish a high school diploma. And if not, a lot of people go to trade school. A lot of people open up businesses without no education. And I understand that. There's a lot that do. But how many do will be the point, right? And there's nothing better than, say for some reason you didn't have no luck with the business, you can always use your education to fall back on. So I'm a highly believer of valuing education. Speaking to the youth now, a lot of the times I see that they are not taking advantage of the moment, right? They're taking the situation for granted. They're hanging out in the hallways. They're skipping school and being with their girlfriends without really realizing that all that time that continues to pass by will never return again. So it's really important to think about your future, to think about now that you have this opportunity to go to school, to take advantage of it. I've always believed that once the time goes by, one of the things in life that you can't pay for is getting that time back, right? So it's really, really, really important to value your education and really understand who's in your circle, who's your support system, who's really trying to help you. And it has to be meaningful to you. You really have to understand, why is it important? Why do I want to continue to go to school? Right? Sometimes that might be just the only way to get out of the neighborhood or the situation you might be in, right? Going to school. But I would really say that to everyone out there, sharing a learning moment with me, education has always been important in my household. A lot of you guys know my story. I've shared this before. A lot of you guys know my father was a school teacher, and he really, really valued education and showed me at a young age the value of education. And I remember those moments, like really, he used to take me to the school. He used to talk to me about, oh, you like basketball and you like writing music and you putting all these things on the top of your list when education should be the first thing on your list. And I used to be, being 12 or 13, 14 and being in high school playing ball. You're like, what is Dad talking about? Like, I just want to play ball. But then as I started getting a little bit older, I really started changing my thought process and really sinking in and locking in of the importance of valuing my education. And I will say I wasn't the smartest in high school, right? There was a lot of smart people when I went to high school, but I always had good solid grades. I was always at least 85, 88. I believe I graduated with an 88 average. So either way, it was again, my dad really pushing me in the importance of having a father in your life and the importance of having that good role model and really trying to show you how important to value education. And, one of my role models, I really thank him for really showing me the light and really having me understand how important that was in his life and how he passed that on to his son. And really, really, really gave me that blueprint on, of really understanding what that is. And I'm always really appreciative of that and thankful for that. And you're gonna have those moments where even when you're in school and you're getting ready to graduate, right? And some students don't make it to the end of the graduation. That's a fact, right? That's the truth about it. But the ones that do, it's just a whole big challenge in front of you. and not knowing what to do, not knowing what school to take, even though we have some great counselors in schools. Sometimes it's just us not really understanding what we want or what a student wants, right? But I would say just try to keep it in the back of your mind about how important it is to go to school and get your education. Because when you do finish, I think the greatest reward is really when you're working hard through ninth grade. Even when it's wintertime, you're going to school and you're making these decisions that, you know what, although it is raining outside, I'm going to school. Although my friends are hanging out and smoking and doing a little weed or a little drinking or whatever it may be, I'm going to make the decision and I'm going to go to school. And trust me, when you make those good decisions and even though you don't want to go, you end up going and you try to be positive about it, right? It's hard when we're young because we kind of really don't understand. So I'm just trying to give you that information, just like my dad used to give it to me, right? My coaches, my mentors, and good friends, right? Unfortunately, when I was on the come up, a lot of them never even made it past high school, right? A lot of them got caught up in situations where it turned bad, right? Which is sad. But again, it's all about that learning moment. And what are we going to do with that learning moment, right? Once we learn from that, what are we going to do when opportunities are being presented to us and really understanding how important this is, right? Not taking things for granted, right? Not going to school and be like, you know what, it is what it is. I'm going to go hang out in the hallways. I'm going to go chill with my girlfriend and end up wasting so much time, right? And those things happen, right? Because again, when we're young and that developmental stage of the brain is young and we get easily peer pressured and we get easily influenced, right? To make other decisions, risky behaviors we get caught up in, right? And the next thing you know, we're dropping out of school, right? But I'm here to tell you, right? And I'm going to continue to say it as this is the segment number 1, the value of education. It's really, 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 really important, right? And not only the value of education, but also being mindful of who you're letting inside your life, right? Especially at a young age. Relationships, building those relationships in school, right? Who are your friends and how they're peer pressuring you. And we call it the experimental stage, right? What is that experimental stage looking like for you, right? What is it that you're looking at? What is it that you're curious about? What are some things that trigger you? What are some things that unmotivate you? And what are some things that are taking you out that concentration mode to really be focusing in school? So those are one of the things that you really want to ask yourself, right? Why am I letting this influence stop me from accomplishing my goals? Your main concern should be getting good grades, taking advantage of the moment, being thankful to your parents, eventually talking to your counselors and filling out that working papers. I think it was now 15 now, 16. They change it, but yeah, more or less, right? You can find out exactly in your school what it is and start getting a little part-time job and start getting a little bit of responsibility because that all works together with all these life areas, right? So school is one thing, but now you're working, your self-esteem is going up, you're feeling good about it, you're getting a paycheck, you're building some responsibility, right? Hopefully, eventually, you don't have to depend on your parents to pay for that phone bill, sneakers no more, whatever, right? And really start getting into it and really start focusing on what's important, right? And then as you develop and you're graduating, congratulations, right? And to the senior classes graduating this year, the ones that graduated last year, congratulations. I hope you guys are doing well in life and really thinking about what's going to be, as I transition into adulthood, the next chapter in my life. Is my next chapter going to be pursuing higher education? Is it going to be working? Is it going to be just being productive and not wasting your time? Right? Okay, so you made a decision that you might feel like, for whatever reason, education is not important for you at the moment. You're not really realizing the importance of it. That happens being young. My question is, so what are we doing about that then? How are we going to figure out a way that now that we made a decision that we're not going to go to college, what is it that we're going to do to continue to be motivated? How are we going to work on other life areas to try to be a productive member of society? Or are we going to be 25 years old, still hanging out, still wasting time, and the time is going to continue to pass, and the time is going to continue to pass, and next thing you know, now you're reaching 30, and where are we at with all this? So what I'm trying to get you is just teach you some education about how important it is to just be mindful, to when older people are speaking, try to pay attention, right? A speaker and a listener, right? Even the older people that you feel like they could be a motivation in your life, there's nothing wrong with taking advice. But the thing is, it's so easy to get influenced and make these bad decisions that once you make these bad decisions, we don't want you to regret that for the rest of your life. And I think the safest way of trying to get some finances is going to school. Be mindful that this is your time now. This is your time now to shine. This is your time now to be young and enjoy life. But at the same time, being mindful that time, it's very important. And you want to do things that are positive with your time and not get influenced in doing negative things, right? Risky behaviors, subway surfing, right? Vaping and smoking and getting yourself in trouble, cutting class, right? Joining gangs, right? Putting your life at risk. It's very dangerous. The time is now to just focus on your education. And trust me with this one. Going to school is going to change your life. Going to school is going to make your parents proud of you. Going to school is going to open opportunities that you never thought you would have. A learning moment for me, I remember when I finished my bachelor's in 99 in education and psychology, I was like, I just want to work. All these years in school to get my bachelor's and doing internships. And after I finished, I started working as a caseworker. Great opportunity with a foster care agency, learning about social work and the struggles with families, and so many things are going on, and making home visits, and so many things that I my observations. And I was like, you know what? It's true what my pops used to always say. Higher education is key. So it really kind of stuck with me at a young age, where I made a decision. I said, you know what? I want to go to graduate school. But then I'm saying to myself, I'm going to go to graduate school, but that's going to be a challenge. Because I know there's nothing but brain smart young men in those universities. Not that I wasn't, but I really felt like, whoa, this might be a learning moment here. So I just ended up making that decision of going back and get my master's. With God's blessing, I was able to graduate in 2017 and got my master's in education with a minor in administration. And I was able just to start finding my way little by little. But I remember how that getting that graduate school degree changed my life. That I had started valuing it so much that I even went back and got my KSAC and went back 2 more years to Lehman and completed that. 6,000 hours of clinical work and doing an internship in a long-term residential facility. Just really getting my counseling on, because I really, not that I didn't understand it, but as you get older, you really start to understand the value of it. And now that I did that, I'm like, wow, that was just like the biggest experience in my life. And that's where my 4th publication came from, my alma mater, Lehman College, where I talk about my whole stories and experiences and observations of going to graduate school. And that was such a learning moment, right? And not only the learning moment, but really building my self-esteem. And during that whole process, I was still writing music. I was still putting out singles, because I really understood that this is my calling. You know, a lot of people get involved with so many areas of their life, or let's just say the music business, for an example. You know, they really focus on selling music and doing those things, and you know, good for them. You know, that's a great thing. But my thing is, how can I impact the youth that I work with, right? How can I use all my learning moments and really sit down and have that one-on-one conversation, right? Not always about you guys reading my books, or you guys listening to the music, or you guys watching me do a presentation and all that. You know, I wanted to extend it with this podcast. Like, how can we have that one-on-one, face-to-face, and have these deep conversations, like we in group session or one-on-one counseling, you know what I mean? And give you just the reality of my learning moments and how they can inspire you. So, speaking from my heart to all the youth out there, to all the people out there that really feel like, you know, and I hear it a lot, like, oh, you're going to school, that's a waste of time. Financial risk and so on and so forth. The thing is, before you even make that decision to go to college or extend your education, my only advice would be really think about what might be your calling. Think about what are some things that you're really, really, really interested in, and pursue it. And once you get in your space, and remember, when you're in college, at the end, you're going to be doing an internship. You're teaching, you're going to be doing an internship at a school. If you're counseling, you're going to be doing an internship at a school, or depending on what specialization you're in with counseling, whether it's substance abuse and addiction, whether it's guidance counseling, whether it's mental health counseling, right? All these areas of counseling. Once you do your internship, you're going to be like, oh, you know what? I really like this area. In my situation, when I started doing my internships in counseling and completing my CASAC hours, I was like, wait a minute, I really like counseling. Although I like social work, but I really fell in love with counseling because I could really get into that one-on-one, exactly what I'm doing now with this extension with my podcast, right? So again, just really finding out what is it that interests you, right? And how do you want to move forward and take advantage of that moment and be a superstar in your space, right? So again, to all the youth out there, if you're watching me, right, I want you to really take a moment, and you know, if you really like to starting to get the podcast, really tune in, because I really have a lot of learning moments that I want to share. And today was just one of those moments that even though school was hard, going to graduate school, and I'm giving you that example, like if you was in school, high school, even though it's hard, just continue to try your best. The professors are watching you. The teachers are watching you. They see what you're doing. You know, learn how to manage your time so you can put in that studying time, right? Get yourself involved in recreation activities, things that you're going to love, maybe a sports team, basketball. All those areas, and studies say that when students are involved in recreation activities, it helps them build the self-esteem. It helps them with learning how to role model, right? It helps them with confidence. It helps them with making great decisions because you have good leaders and mentors leading you in the right direction. So in all these areas of school and everything, one way or another, it helps you in the long run. But you really got to want it. Nowadays, with cutting programs and funding, and just the opportunities are becoming less and less and less. And now is a time where you really got to, you know, lock in and stay focused and say, you know what, I even if I don't like school, I really need to get at least my high school diploma. So you can have an opportunity to do something productive in life. You know, one of the things that really I would say touches me, right, is seeing so many students or just teenagers in general in my community with so much talent that I be saying to myself, if only they knew they can apply themselves, how far they can go. Not only having street smarts, having book smarts, a lot of talent in basketball, a lot of talent in social skills. They know how to speak well. They dress well. They got this confidence, right? And they, the way they walk and the little bop with them and everything. I'm like, wow, man, if they only really understood, like if all those life areas came together, right? And you stay focused in school or what you really wanted to do, they can do so many great things. And that's why I'm here today bringing you this message to all the youth out there. Value your education. Respect your parents. Respect your teachers. You have a voice. Use your voice. Don't ever feel like you're alone. You're not alone. You just got to find the help so we can be able to help you. If you're not sure about something, raise your hand. If you're feeling a certain way, find out who are the counselors in your schools and have those one-on-one conversations with your counselors. There's a lot of them in your school, at least 4 or 5 in different areas. So being mindful that you're not alone. Respect your parents. If you only knew how hard they work to try to provide you, some of them work 2, 3 jobs just to give you a better life. And you're out there hanging out, getting yourself in trouble. And every time mom got to get you in that precinct, it's just an embarrassment. Especially when you have so much talent. So again, to wrap all this up, learning moment. We spoke a little bit about graduate school, the things I had to struggle with and how I was able to just stay focused, getting my workouts on, believing that I can do it. And then at the end, the bigger picture was leaving a blueprint with my 4th publication. I wrote a book about it and gave it to the world so they can really see the struggles of how hard it is to go to graduate school. And it's the same concept with education. What's the learning moment while you're in that building, young man or young lady? What are you taking away from all these experiences? Really, really think about your future. Because if you work on your discipline, you work on staying focused, you're going to go far in life. But it all starts with education. Value your education. And trust me, you will go far in life. Then you're going to step into that campus. Be like, wow, I never knew this was like this. Whole different world. It's a whole different world. And you can be like, oh my God, I should have came back and did this. Absolutely. But sometimes you just need that person to come in your life and tell you the realness of how it really works, right? And that's what I'm here for. To genuinely help you in the best of my ability, being a hip hop artist, being a counselor, being a social worker, being an author, right? I just want to help you and inspire you to be the best version of yourself, young man and young lady. So with all this being said, everyone, I want to say thank you for tuning in again. First episode, The Value of Education. I hope it was a learning moment. I hope you was able to take something away from it. And at the end of the day, remember, never give up on your dreams. And I'm going to wrap it up with this, guys. Always remember, with my 5th publication, like I say, you are a beautiful and special person, no matter what. Good evening, guys. Blessings. Thank you.
Ambientes que ya ha pasado con todos los barrios, ya no hay cariño para nuestros niños. La escuela es importante, que ya ha pasado con todos los ambientes, que ya ha pasado con todos los barrios, ya no hay cariño para nuestros niños. Esto es complicado, pero tengo que hacerlo. Primero en línea, es el sabor latino. Es increíble lo que sigue pasando y mis palabras las siguen ignorando. La escuela nos sigue fallando y las maestras siguen en silencio. Hipocresía, todo es ganancia, y en las guarderías siguen vendiendo drogas. Mundo frío, no existe conciencia, no dejes que te engañe la apariencia. Muchas corbatas y muchos trajes de vestir, mientras los niños tienen que sufrir. Hay dinero